Hey everyone, Andrew here, Melbourne Superman, and as promised, I'm now going to talk about 10 things that I learned from my first Comic-Con. So, as you know, a couple of weeks ago, I went to the Supernova here in Melbourne, and it was an absolute blast. Like, I had such a great time. Shout out to Erin, EPC Cosplay. You know, she showed me around. She kind of showed me the ropes for my first one, as she's a bit of a veteran cosplayer. You can hear a little bit more about the whole experience on the Kryptonian Chronicles podcast and just kind of what I experienced. So what I want to talk a little bit about today is just the general things that I learned and the things that I kind of picked up on, the things that I vibed with while I was there. And there was just a lot. It was hard to kind of narrow it down to just 10 things. And I think I've kind of nailed it. I might go off on tangents here. This is going to be one of the longer videos. I am trying something different today. So obviously I'm in my office here. I'm not doing it on my phone as per normal. I'm doing it on my computer. I'm not sure how that's going to work with the intros and YouTube and everything, but hopefully it works. Otherwise, this is going to be a big waste of time and I'm going to be really sad. And I will have probably said some really awesome stuff that I won't be able to replicate. So fingers crossed. All right, let's get into this. So the first thing that I learned at my first con, number one, there are some impressive, impressive cosplays. Like, there are people there that go all out, and like I give them kudos. Like, there are some awesome things. Like, there are some giant cosplays that are just like, dude, how do you even get that on? I mean, I'm sure that there are plenty of things there that people are helped to get into, but it's just amazing the level of kind of what's the word I'm looking for when you commitment, the level of commitment. I don't think that's the word I'm looking for, but the level of commitment from some of these dudes and dudettes, that's just like, it's just amazing. So when you get to your first con, really keep an eye out. The cosplays are just phenomenal. It's like they're part of the show, really. It's like if you're in cosplay, you're kind of part of the show. And that kind of leads into the second thing. If you're in cosplay, number two, be prepared, because people will stop you and people will get photographs of you. They will stop and ask if they can get photos of you, or they will stop and ask you if they can get photos with you. And you got to be prepared for that. Like, it's going to happen, especially if you're wearing a higher end suit. People dig that. And that's kind of one of those things. Like, when I went, I prepared myself. I didn't think that I was going to get stopped as many times as I did, but I was prepared. And I was like, you know what, if people stop me and ask me for photos, that is something that I'm willing to accept for wearing a suit. Like, that's part of the fun of it. Like, you have to feel some sort of, I was kind of proud. I was like, this is awesome. People actually want my photo. This is cool. So be prepared for that. But also, the other thing about that is when you're there with friends or you're talking to friends that you see there, you're going to be interrupted. That's okay. Like, it's cool. Just know that that's going to be part of it. And 9 times out of 10, if you're with somebody who's been to a con, they will get that, and they'll just like do their own thing while you're interrupted and go to take pictures. Nobody's going to take it personally if you stop talking to them to take photos, because that's just, it is what it is. That being said, if you are somebody who's asking for photos, I would recommend be polite about it. Don't just like go up to them and interrupt their conversation. You know, find a good moment to say excuse me, because that's kind of cool too. But the people that you're with will generally understand that, which leads into the next number three. Number three, you will meet people from Instagram and social media probably for the first time. I met so many different people there that either follow me on Instagram or I follow, and it was one of those things where it's like, oh, you're Melbourne Superman, right? And I'm like, yeah, dude. And it was a really cool experience, because you can get lost. Like, you can get lost in social media, right? You appreciate a lot of the times the posts that these guys make and these gals make, but actually getting a chance to talk to them, like, that's real. Like, I spent like 10 or 15 minutes with T-Gun and Geek Haven and those guys, and we were just like chatting about different cosplays that we're going to get. You know, Raging Cajun, I met him. Aussie Aquaman, that was awesome. You know, Old Man Daz, like so many. So shout outs to all of you, you know. Obviously Doofus Cosplay. Andy Latomsky. Just there's so many people there that I was able to meet in person where you form these relationships with them over Instagram. But then when you get a chance to talk to them, it's really surreal. It's really cool. So really savor that. Like it will be kind of, hey, wait, I know you, remind me, and that's okay because again, we're used to seeing these people on small Instagram phones or iPhones, which technically the I could stand for Instagram. It doesn't. But when you figure out who they are, like Melbourne City Vigilante, right? Like, dude came up to me and I was like, bro, like I knew who he was, but at the same time, it was surreal because I was seeing him in person. So I was like, I feel like I gave him kind of like an overwhelmed response. And, we talked about it and I was like, dude, I'm sorry. But it's the things that you have to you will experience that. You think you're all calm, cool, and collected. Then when you're meeting people for the first time, it is really an exciting experience. Speaking of which, I know I'm kind of going at a mile a minute here. I'm very excited to be talking about this stuff, and I've got a lot of ideas in my head, so I don't want to forget them. So that's why I'm going for it. But yeah, so you will meet people from Instagram and social media for the first time, possibly. The next thing, and this kind of goes back into how it can be overwhelming, these next two things. Number 4 is that there is a lot to take in. And number 5 is that it is and it can be overwhelming. So there's a lot to take in. Number 4, right? You get there. And the first thing that you're hit with 9 times out of 10, I would imagine, are the cosplays and the crowds and the lines. And just, then you walk into the venue and then all of a sudden there's rows and rows of these booths of different cosplayers exhibiting, or brands exhibiting, or artists or photographers, and it's like, dude, where do you start? But and we go into number 5. It can be overwhelming, but you just got to figure that out. You just got to take your time. Like, I can tell you that it's overwhelming in a really good way. Like, it's not something that will freak you out. It might. Look, it might. It depends on what your mental health is, your anxiety levels are. It totally might. But everybody's there experiencing the same thing, so you're not alone. And you just got to kind of take it one step at a time. Take some deep breaths, take it all in. Go see the things that you want to see. Find those first. I would recommend finding those first. So 2 things. A, either find them first, or B, save them till last. I wouldn't do them in the middle, because then that you're actually taking the time to appreciate those things. And the things in the middle can just be the things that you're seeing by happenstance and just happen to be there. And then you can figure out some awesome stuff from there. So number 4, a lot to take in. Number 5, it can be overwhelming, but it's also just a lot of fun. And that is, I wrote these really well. These are all segueing, and it's almost as if I planned this out. It goes into the next thing. Number 6 is that the atmosphere is just so positive and amazing and brilliant, even at a time when the world maybe isn't so positive and so brilliant. Obviously, we're going through a lot of tough times right now, but that didn't stop everybody from having a really awesome time at the Comic-Con, at the Supernova. And it was a really nice change of pace to see that, right? It was a really nice change of pace to see that. Like, we've gone from everything's negative, everything's kind of scary, to something like that. It's like, I haven't been to an event that size, I think, since COVID started. And I got to tell you, I really appreciated it, especially now that Melbourne's back in lockdown. It was just a really cool experience, and the people were so friendly. Everybody was happy to be there. There wasn't a sad face or anybody who was, I didn't come across anybody who didn't want to be there, because we've all come across things like that. But it was just a really great day. The atmosphere was amazing. I loved it. Now, here we get into some nitty-gritty and the housekeeping. If you're a cosplayer, so this is number 7. If you're cosplaying, be prepared. Be prepared to hold it, right? Especially if you have a tricky costume, right? or a tricky suit. We call them suits here. Superman suits. We don't call them costumes. You have to be able to figure that out. Like if you know you can't get your suit on and off without help or without some serious trouble, you're going to have to prepare accordingly for how you're going to handle the toilet situation. And I don't think that that's something that's like not talked about. I'm sure it is talked about a lot, but it's just obviously something in my experience. I didn't really have a problem with it until the second day. I went for a coffee with Andy Latomsky, Thor, and after the coffee I was like, well, bummer. Um, I was fine. Everything was fine, but you really got to be you gotta be thinking about it. Not that you want to dehydrate yourself or anything, but you just got to be prepared for the reality of it and figure out what your game plan is for that situation. So I'll leave that there. Number 8, I keep looking to the side, everyone, by the way, because I have written these down. So number 8, purchasing items is really a lot of fun. Buying souvenirs, buying stuff. Like I'm so surprised I didn't come away with like 85 new pops or something. But that's a lot of fun. But the awesome thing is actually learning the history and learning what went into them. So I'm just going to show you a couple of the things that I purchased, which I still have to get frames for. I'm not going to show you everything. So Nicola Scott was there. She's an artist. She's been commissioned by DC a few times, I did pick this one up just because I've seen it on Instagram and I really, really enjoy it. I picked up a couple of things from her, but this one, when I saw this one, I was like, dude, I need that. And this is the thing. So it's all the iterations of Superman from the comics. The major iterations of Superman in the comics, the classic iterations over the last 80 years for the 80th anniversary. And I got to tell you, like, the fact that I own it is awesome. The fact that it's signed is really awesome. But being able to sit there for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, however long it was, and Nicola actually told me the story of how she was commissioned, the things that she went through with it, the different iterations that she didn't put into it and why, or the versions that she put into it that she had to change and why, and just that whole story. It was just awesome. Like, listening to that was coming firsthand from the actual artist was so cool. It was just really, really cool. I got another awesome piece from Sam's studio here in Australia. Well, everybody's Australia. And it was just, it's something that he put together on Photoshop. And, shout out to Sam Studio and Nicola Scott Art, of course. Make sure you follow them both. Sam Studio AU and Nicola Scott Art. Just listening to him tell his story about how he does this stuff, how he picks the stuff that he does, it led me to looking at, because I did say to him, we spoke about Smallville, and he was like, well, I have this. And I was like, well, I need that. And it was just a really cool experience. Like, really, when you go to these events, the artists there, like, if you're not chatting with them or if you're not checking out their stuff, you are missing out on some seriously awesome stuff. So really take the time to appreciate everybody that's there. Go in, if they have time, talk a little bit about their story. Find out a little bit about them. And I'm not talking about just artists. I'm talking about anybody who's exhibiting, anybody who's there, even somebody in cosplay. Like, talking to some of the like Spider Ghoul cosplay, dude. Like, just talking to him about one of his cosplays and why he does it. That was just really cool. It's just really an interesting thing. So get to know people, get to know their stories a little bit if you can. Then number 9. And this kind of goes back to being prepared to hold it, number 7. So this one didn't flow as well. No pun intended, but I should have done this right after be prepared to hold it, but that's fine. But number 9 is don't forget to hydrate and eat and prepare accordingly. So when you're in cosplay, yes, there are going to be times when you can and can't use the restroom. So you have to be prepared to get some, because you're going to be moving around a lot. You're walking, you're on your feet all day. You need energy. So if you're not going to eat at the con, have a good breakfast, have a good meal beforehand. And excuse me, Oh, that's a reminder. I have to make a post for the Spartan races. Anyway, uh, that's actually really good timing because something like the Spartan race, you have to make sure that you prepare and eat for nutritionally. But yeah, so if you are going to essentially fast while you're at the con, do some preparation. Really look into how you can hydrate and eat before and after, so that you're not, you know, putting yourself at any kind of risk for, bonking out or getting too tired or not eating enough for that day. So really look into that as well. So that's number 9. And then number 10, the last thing, is that it's just fun. It was the most fun that I've had in such a long time. Like, going to this thing was so amazing. It was just a lot of fun. And if you're going to go there, be prepared to have fun. Don't go there with a negative attitude. Don't go there with the attitude that your cosplay is better than anybody else's. Just go there to have fun. Like, it is a great time. The people there are amazing. They're positive. They're nice. They're just extraordinary. We are all cosplayers, right? Sometimes we are socially awkward when we meet each other, but that's part of the fun of it. So have fun, stay safe, stay positive, and just have a great time when you're there. So that's it. There you have it. Number 1, there's some impressive cosplays. Number 2, people will stop you and photograph you. Number 3, you will meet people from Instagram for the first time. Number 4, there's a lot to take in. Number 5, it can be overwhelming. Number 6, the atmosphere is positive and brilliant. Number 7, be prepared to hold it. Number 8, purchasing items is half the fun. Learning about the artists and the exhibitors really is the thing that takes the cake. Number 9, don't forget to hydrate and eat. And number 10, be prepared to have fun. So look, thank you so much for listening and watching this basically 10 things that I learned from my first Comic-Con. I hope to see you all. Please, I hope to see you all at the next one. Please make sure that you do like, subscribe, comment, share, turn on the notifications bell. Follow me at Melbourne Superman on Instagram and Vero. And if you do have any inquiries about personal training or life coaching, be sure to reach out, melbournesuperman@gmail.com, or on any of my social media. So thank you so much for watching, and we will catch you next time.